Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to introduce myself a bit. My name is Christian. I work at Rubicon IT. I've been a developer for almost 13 years. Currently, I'm not developing that much, but I think I have a quite good view of software craftsmanship, and I wanted to discuss this with you. First of all, is there anybody in this room who has never seen this? Okay, great. The Agile Manifesto. It's been around quite a while, 15 years, I think. And it has been some kind of turning point in our industry. People worked differently after the Agile Manifesto and the Agile movement. But what happened was that in many companies, Agile meant Scrum. Many companies applied Scrum. Many companies did Scrum projects. Many companies were taught Scrum by a Scrum Master and Scrum Trainer. And everybody thought, now we are producing great software with few bugs, and we always meet our time frames. But this is not true. This didn't happen. Why? In my opinion, it happened because the focus was on the project and not on the software itself and the people that developed the software. So the focus was not on us, on the developers. So the craftsmanship movement came, and it worked out another manifesto, the Software and Craftsmen Manifesto, that states that we should focus on well-crafted software that steadily adds value, that we work together with a community of professionals and establish productive partnerships. In my opinion, all of this is true. This doesn't replace the Agile Manifesto, it extends it. But to be honest, it does not say that much about the values of a software craftsman for me. So I've extracted 3 values that the software craftsman should have, in my opinion. The first one is passion. The second one is the focus on quality. And the third one is the will to learn. And I will talk about these 3 values. So we start with passion. For a software craftsman, a job is not only a job, it's more. Well, quite sounds obvious. When I first started as a developer, my first day at the company was great. I thought, okay, now I can earn my living with the thing I've done for many years, and I can work with passionate people. But what I saw was that people in the 40s and in their 50s lost their drive. They just worked 9 to 5, started developing their tasks, didn't care much about the quality of the task, didn't learn. So for me, a software craftsman should love what they do and always try to become better. And that's how we focus on our passion. If we become better, then we always can keep changing, and we change the way we solve problems. And that's what passion means for me. Additionally, software craftsmen should involve others in the process of getting better. That's quite important, because you can teach less experienced developers. And that's what software craftsmen definitely should do. The second value is the strict focus on quality. Why should we focus on quality? Because well-crafted code, we need well-crafted code, because working software is not enough. Everybody who has written a version 1 of a software and adapted it and changed it happened to find bugs, happened to fix them. It took longer and longer and longer because the code wasn't crafted very well. How do we craft code? Well, first of all, think before we code. I've seen many developers that got a task card, read through the card, at least the first 2 or 3 points, and started hacking. They didn't prepare the code. I personally like to take a step back. I personally do pair programming. We like to take a step back, look at the code, see what has to be changed, refactor what is necessary, and then try to code properly. And we follow the Boy Scout rule, always leave the code cleaner than you found it. How do we do this? Well, we follow extreme programming. It's quite easy. We do test-driven development, we use continuous integration, we do pair programming. We've never done mob programming, but I think this is a great idea. And we focus on simple design. I started with test-driven development and test-first development in 2005, and it definitely changed the way I work. It was a tremendous change. Since then, I rarely use a debugger. I use the debugger once a month, when it's much. Extend this by peer reviews, design session with the whole team. This is our approach of mob designing and developer show fixes. Take the team together in one room, take all the brains, all the knowledge, and decide how to do it. Actually, we don't program at this session, but we have one PC, we have one monitor, one screen, and we talk about one task. We have a special room for that, and it works great. When I started at Rubicon as a lead developer, I tried to figure it out all on my own, prepare the task, work on them, present them to the team for the next iteration, and it didn't work at all. Sometimes I missed something, sometimes I misanticipated something, and what happened was that the team had nothing to do. Then we started, during a retrospective, to think about doing planning together, doing designing together, and that's what came up. And it worked for us, and it works still now, 7 years later. We have to eliminate waste and maximize the amount of work not done and code not written. This is from Kanban. Waste is code that is not executed, that is too complicated. We should not do this. Everybody that reads a book about design patterns gets a hammer, and on the next day, everything is a nail. And we try to do everything with a command, write singletons, use strategies, all the way down, and it's absolutely useless. Don't do it. Don't produce waste. If you want to use patterns, it's great. I also use patterns, but I tend to refactor 2 patterns. So if you don't need a strategy in the first place, but in the second place, refactor to a strategy. That's fine. Never ever say that you write code that you might use later, because later always equals never. So don't do it at all. Okay, Leblanc's law, very great. Before Rubicon, I've been working at a startup company. How many of you work at a startup company? Meaning a company that lives only for 12 months. Okay, 2 years? Okay, a few of you. Startup companies have some special mentality. Guy Kawasaki, a venture capitalist, once said that startup companies should focus on shipping. So ship it and then fix it. And this is what happens in many startup companies I've seen, and it happened in the startup company I worked for. That does not exist anymore. And this can be very dangerous. If you don't focus on the quality, if you don't focus on testing, if you don't focus on automation, if you don't focus on integrations, you produce code that is fucked up by day one. At first, it's easy. At first, you can start with a green field and putting in features at a freaking fast pace. But when you move on, everything is messed up, and implementing new features takes longer and longer and longer, and a lot of rework is needed. So do it right at first. What you produce when you don't do it is technical debt, and as we heard in the speech before, it's very critical, because I've seen projects that have been killed by technical debt. Try to eliminate technical debt. And one thing that's important for me as well, everybody that writes a proof of concept, that does something, don't take this to production. Rewrite it properly. If you haven't done it in the first place, then rewrite it when it goes to production. Do your test, do your homework. Taking a proof of concept to production means taking legacy code, taking technical debt, taking bugs to production. This is never a good idea. So, well, this is the part of quality. The third, and even also one of the most important values of a software craftsman, is the will to learn. We have to learn all the time. Why should we learn? In order to get better at what we are doing, we always need to learn something. Today I learned that mob programming might be a good idea. Well, hopefully it makes me better. In in the book about software craftsmanship, there's a statement, accepting that we have to learn a lot is a sign of maturity and one of the first steps to mastery. So knowing that we don't know everything is really important. How do we learn? Well, our industry supports us with all the information needed. You can find most of the things online. You can find it for free. Of course, there are some books. There is something that costs money, but most of it is for free. You can go to meetups. You can go to coding dojos. You can contribute to open source projects, and you can work on pet projects yourself. Who of you is working on a pet project? Okay, fine, great. It's important. You learn all the time. You're getting better. I've picked a few books from our reading list for developers. These are the classics. Is there anybody in here who hasn't written one of these books? Hopefully not. Okay, one? Sorry, read? Thank you. They are the classics. You should read them. You should buy them. I personally think you should own them. During the last few years, I've done a lot of job interviews. And throughout the job interviews, we always talk about technologies. We always talk about strategy of building code and stuff like that. And sometimes I hear this. I always want to learn something, but my company doesn't pay for trainings and books. Well, to be fair, it's okay that somebody says that. And in my opinion, and that's the next slide, companies have to pay for this because you are getting better and they earn money. So, but to be true, this is not an excuse. If they don't pay for your education, you can accept it and pay for your own, or you can leave. It's always up to you. Nobody tightens you in your company. If they don't pay it, you can leave them. But it's no excuse for not getting better. So, in my opinion, companies should pay, of course. And as said before, most of the information comes with no cost at all. You can find everything online. You can find webcasts, whatever you want. These are the three main aspects of software craftsmanship for me, personally. What is software craftsmanship not? First of all, it's not equal to seniority. Seniority is always bound to some kind of context. You're a senior at the technology, you're a senior at your project, you're a senior at the company, you're a senior at the product. Being a senior in one product or project doesn't mean being a senior in another one. Being a senior in one language doesn't mean being a senior in another one. Software craftsmanship is something else. It's not seniority. It has to do something with experience. Masters of the craftsmen definitely have experience and share their experience, but it's not about seniority. And craftsmanship doesn't say anything about technology or languages. It's language agnostic. So it's some kind of lifestyle and not bent to some frameworks or technology. There are quite a few criticisms out there, and to be honest, some of them are definitely true. The first one I read was that software development does not have this long tradition to be compared to other crafts, so calling it a craft is not correct. Actually, tradition you cannot buy. So, yeah, to be true, if this is required to call it a craft, then we can't call it a craft, but I don't think that it's required. There is no apprenticeships like in other crafts, and there are no skill levels you have to advance through on your way to mastery. This is true, this is fair enough. There are no apprenticeships, and I know that some companies worked on that. Actually, I don't know what the outcome was. I just heard that some of them started it. And it's hard to establish something like that because our software, our industry is moving at a very high pace. Every 5 years, everything changes. Doing quite good study programs is not easy. But this is something that we as developers have to work on. And I think that's important. The third criticism is that customers don't care about the beauty of the code. as long as software delivered what is required. It's true as well. But in my opinion, it's true for the first shot. When you deliver version 1 of your software and it does what it has to do, nobody cares how beautiful the code is written. So all the beauty is just for our egos. But when it comes to version 2, when it comes to the point where we have to add features to change something, code that is not crafted well is hard to change. And therefore, it's very expensive, and then the customers care, definitely. So to come to my initial question, do we need software craftsmen? Well, yes, of course. I truly believe that we need software craftsmen, that we need to become software craftsmen, and that we should focus on the things that I've told you in this speech, because otherwise we will continue build software that is crappy, that is buggy, that is hard to maintain, hard to deploy, hard to everything. So try to become software craftsmen, try to live as a software craftsman, always try to become better, and always focus on the quality, and yeah, have fun on your journey. This is my last slide. Thank you. If you've got any further questions, we will show the questions right now. If you've got further questions or want to discuss this topic with me, we are at booth number 6 out there, and we have a round table. And you can like our Facebook page. It's up there on the speech flag, facebook.com/rubicon.talents. Everybody that likes the Facebook page can win this soccer table, one of the soccer tables that we have with us. We have 2 with us. You can win one of them. Okay, so thank you in the first place. And let's see. Okay, first question, how to keep up the motivation high after years on the same project and product? Well, I've been working on a project that is around for about, I don't know, 11 years. So that's quite long. That's much longer than most of the startup companies in here live. The motivation comes from the tasks we do, the technology we use, the things we use in our team. When I started at my company and at the project, we weren't that agile. We didn't know that much about agile. We didn't use retrospectives. We didn't do proper test-driven development. We didn't have continuous integration. That's all the things that we learned through the way of developing, and that kept motivation high, of course. We started to work together as a team. We started to do more in teams, and that's how we work. And of course, regular releases that are shipped to a customer and that are successful also motivate, because we don't have to ship it and then fix it, because we have to ship it and it works. Okay, second question. It is always about how a software craftsman shall be. Isn't it all about why the company environment has to provide in order to enable software craftsmanship? Actually, of course, the company has to provide some environment that allows us to become software craftsmen, as I said. Otherwise, you should move. But being software craftsman is some kind of attitude. You have to get better by your own, because you own your career, not your company. And that's the point. If you cannot proceed, leave. Hopefully this answers the question. I'm not pretty sure. Is test-driven development possible at GUI front-end development? That's a good one. I've done Windows Forms test-driven development in 2005. And it sucked, really. It took me a day to test one form. And we decided not to do it. But it was a decision that we've made based on the fact that we tried it. What we decided to do was to implement something that came up with WPF. It was MVVM stuff. We tried to implement something like that for our Windows Forms back then. But actually, it's hard. It's hard to do test-driven development in GUI frontends. But you have to distinguish between test-driven development and unit testing. These are some different kind of tests. You can do front-end tests with automation. You can do tests before that. So if you use Selenium or if you use some tools, you can write the tests before the software actually does what it should do, and you can implement it afterwards. So yes, there is a way. It is possible. It's often harder than writing backend systems. Not everything can be decided by the developer. Management approval is needed. An example, we write a POC. How to change a hierarchical system from the bottom up. First part of the question, yes, there are things that are decided by the management. There are things that are decided by the product owner. And to be honest, I had some slides in here that a software craftsman should be some kind of counterpart to product management, product owner, stuff like that. Why? Because we don't need to say yes to everything. We have the right to say no. We have the right to say we won't do this, but we have to come up with an alternative. If we say, okay, we need to throw away the prototype, and the management says, no, we won't do it, we have to show them what the costs can be if we don't do it. So come up with ideas, talk to them, they are part of your team. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me, and have fun at the conference.